Thanks to all the subscribers. Please like, subscribe, and comment. We're almost to 1,000, and we really appreciate it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Two high-ranking leaders of the Nine Trey Gangsters, said of the United Blood Nation, also known as UBN or Blood Street Gang, were each charged with racketeering conspiracy. This includes the Godfather of the set, who also served as chairman of the UBN, and a second leader who held the rank of worldwide high. Omar B. Rosario at one time served as acting godfather of the entire gang. The 41-year-old, along with Pedro Magu Gutierrez and James Frank White Baxton, formed UBN's leadership. The three oversaw gang-wide operations from their prison cells in New York State and regularly met with visiting underlings to discuss UBN business. Rosero Uno B pleaded guilty to racketeering conspiracy. He admitted to holding the leadership rank of high and to serving as an acting godfather of the entire UBN gang. In a recorded jail call, Rosero admitted to being together with Pedro Magu Gutierrez and James Frank White Baxton, the last ones that God put in power over the UBN. Rosero conducted gang business and participated in the distribution of gang dues while incarcerated in the New York State Department of Corrections. In order to communicate with the outside, he used 35-year-old Portia Talina Rosero, nicknamed Lady Uno B for obvious reasons. She maintained a Facebook account through which private messages were sent from Rosero to other Bloods leaders. She pleaded guilty to racketeering conspiracy and admitted participating in the distribution of gang dues and a phone call during which Rosero stated that a suspected cooperator would be faded straight up. Based on evidence introduced during the trial, Gutierrez was a godfather of the Nine Trey Gangsters and had served since 2003 as the chairman of the council that governs the UBN. Gutierrez, together with James Baxton and Omari Rosero, considered themselves the last ones that God put in power over the UBN. As the godfather of the set, Gutierrez, along with Baxton, conducted gang business and participated in the distribution of gang dues while incarcerated in the New York State Department of Corrections. Gutierrez ordered a gang war in North Carolina in 2011, directing that members of the Bloods gang attack and kill members of a renegade gang called Pretty Tony. The war resulted in numerous injuries among inmates and the lockdown of 5 North Carolina prisons for 6 months. Gutierrez ordered the Nine Trey to engage in an all-out war against the North Carolina gang and directed Nine Trey members to kill Pretty Tony members who did not join the Nine Trey. Gutierrez's order led to numerous fights and stabbings in prisons, causing 5 prisons to go on lockdown, as well as shootings outside of prison. Similarly, Baxton ordered the Nine Trey to attack Jared Hewer, the godfather of another UBN set, for plotting to remove Gutierrez from his UBN leadership position. As a result, Hewer was attacked and stabbed several times by UBN members while incarcerated. Trial evidence established that Baxton was a worldwide high of the Nine Trey Gangsters, and that while incarcerated in the New York State Department of Corrections, Baxton trafficked heroin within the prison system and engaged in wire fraud by threatening the relatives of other incarcerated inmates. The Nine Trey Gangsters' leadership proceeds in rank, from lowest to highest, from scrap, 1-star general, through 5-star general, low, high, and godfather. Bianca Kiyashi Harrison, also known as Lady Guns 28 of Midway Park, North Carolina, pleaded guilty to racketeering conspiracy. According to her plea agreement, Harrison admitted to holding the leadership rank of high and to participating at facilities within the New York Department of Corrections, in gang leadership meetings with alleged UBN godfathers Gutierrez and Baxton. Cynthia Gilmore, also known as Cynthia Young, and Lady Bent, 43 of Raleigh, was a high-ranking leader of the Nine Trey Gangsters in North Carolina with the rank of low, and that she was involved in drug trafficking and the robbery of other drug dealers. Evidence also established that Gilmore traveled regularly between North Carolina and New York State, where she met with Pedro Gutierrez, the highest-ranking leader of the United Blood Nation, who was incarcerated at the time. Gilmore provided funds necessary to facilitate these criminal activities by engaging in tax fraud. She gave stolen personal information to Margot Lewis and had her file fraudulent tax returns using that information. Lewis then directed tax refunds generated by those fraudulent returns to be deposited into a bank account of Gilmore's choice. Cynthia Gilmore was a gang member who had risen to the leadership ranks within the Nine Trey Gangsters, a powerful set of the Bloods in North Carolina, said U.S. Attorney Murray. According to court documents and evidence presented at trial, the UBN is a violent criminal street gang operating throughout the East Coast of the United States since it was founded as a prison gang in 1993. UBN members are often identified by their use of the color red and can also often be identified by common tattoos or burn marks. Examples include a three-circle pattern usually burned onto the upper arm, known as a dog paw, the acronym MOB, which stands for Member Bloods, the words Damu or East Side, the number 5, the 5-pointed star, and the 5-pointed crown. UBN members have distinct hand signs and written codes, which are used to identify other members and rival gang members. The Nine Trey Gangster said of the UBN referred to themselves as Billies. According to court documents and evidence presented at trial, the UBN is governed by a common set of 31 rules known as the 31, which were originally written by the founders of the UBN. Members of the UBN are expected to conduct themselves in their illegal activity according to rules and regulations set by their leaders. Prominent among these is a requirement to pay monthly dues to the organization, often in the amounts of $31 or $93. A percentage of these funds are transferred to incarcerated UBN leadership in New York. These funds also are used locally to conduct gang business. UBN gang dues are derived from illegal activity performed by subordinate UBN members, including narcotics trafficking, robberies, wire fraud, and bank fraud, among other forms of illegal racketeering activities. Pedro Gutierrez, aka Magoo, Light and Inferno 45 of New York, was sentenced by Chief Judge Frank D. Whitney to serve 20 years in prison. James Baxton, aka Frank White and Grown 44 of New York, was also sentenced by Judge Whitney to serve 20 years in prison. Bianca Kiyashi Harrison, aka Lady Guns, 28, was sentenced onto a term of 32 months in prison. Cynthia Gilmore, aka Cynthia Young, and Lady Bent, 43, of Raleigh, North Carolina, was sentenced by Chief Judge Frank D. Whitney to serve 228 months in prison. 67 defendants have now either pleaded guilty or have been convicted at trial. Pedro Gutierrez, aka Magoo, is currently at USP Florence AdMax. His release date is October 16, 2034. Omari Rosero, aka Uno B, 41, of Elmira, New York, pleaded guilty to racketeering conspiracy. During his plea, Omari Rosero admitted to holding the leadership rank of high and to serving as an acting godfather of the entire UBN. Rosero was sentenced to 87 months in prison to be served federally after completing a sentence in New York State. James Baxton is currently at USP Canaan, a high-security U.S. penitentiary. His release date is November 6, 2038. Bianca Kiyashi Harrison was released on August 27, 2019. Cynthia Gilmore is currently at FCI Danbury, a low-security federal correctional institution. Her release date is July 26, 2032. Although there are convictions in this matter, I must stress that an indictment is not evidence of guilt. Charges are only allegations, and each defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Blessings.